You ready? Good evening, welcome. This is the Marion City Council meeting for Thursday, August 27th, 2020. Welcome to everyone who's joining us from home. And we'll just note that Councilmember Gadela is joining us via Zoom. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Roll call, please.
Mr. Harper?
Here.
Ms. Atkins? Here. Mr. Jensen?
Here.
Mayor Abu Osley?
Here.
Mr. Brandt?
Here.
Ms. Gadelia?
Here.
Mr. Sternad?
Here.
Thank you. This time we have a moment of silence. Thank you. Under proclamations, we won't be reading a proclamation this evening, but I wanted to see if the council members had any questions at all regarding the proclamation of the county, which we were included in as a city, asking the governor to give local entities, the cities and counties, the ability to make their own decisions regarding face masks. That did get signed by the county. It included Marion's name as one of the cities, and was sent to the governor. So anyone have any questions? I know that we had sort of discussed it informally. I just want to know if people have questions. Yes.
Do we have any expectation, Your Honor, about how fast the governor might respond to that?
Well, we don't know that she will. I mean, she has said that cities don't have that authority to enforce such an ordinance. All this proclamation does is ask her to give, doesn't say that Marion would pass that. It just says that cities should have the ability to do that and to pass an enforceable ordinance. Other questions? If that were to happen and she gives cities that ability, it would come back to the council, and the council would make that decision. Okay. Okay, at this time we have a public forum, which is time that is set aside for comments from the public on any topic that's listed on the agenda, but not associated with a public hearing. Do we have anyone waiting to comment, or has anyone sent comments?
We received one comment prior to the meeting. Next slide. It was from Linda Miller. I think I put in the wrong. And I forwarded it to council prior. It was in regard to the sidewalk ramp project.
Correct. Did everyone receive that? Yes. Okay. Anyone have comments on that? Yes, sir. Right.
I've had contact with Ms. Miller regarding her concern about the ADA ramps being installed adjacent to her property on it's Southview Drive and Ridge Drive. Is that the address? At any rate, she has two apartment buildings there with sidewalks that extend from the parking from the building directly to the street. There is no sidewalk on the eastern aspect of her property. Through email, I followed up with her to explain the requirements that are placed on the city for ADA ramps, and also explain the requirements of our city code relative to property owner responsibility. She does have automobile parking also for her two buildings, and so I left it that I would certainly like to meet with her, discuss this further, but explain the basis for our position of proceeding with the project. So I think that correspondence was the stimulus to her communique that she sent in for our review today.
Okay, thank you for doing that. Okay, are there any other comments from the public on any item that is on the agenda but not associated with the public hearing?
I have not received anything.
Okay, then we'll move on to the consent agenda. Councilmember Atkins.
Your Honor, I move to approve consent agenda, including motion to approve the consent agenda, including resolutions number 28708 through 28723.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented, including items 1 through 1, including items A1 through F8, and resolutions 28703 through 28723. Discussion?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead, Renee.
I would like to abstain from the minutes approval for August 4th and August 12th because I was not in attendance at those meetings.
That's not part of that.
So those
We removed those from this.
those have been
the
removed
consent.
and put on
Oh.
the regular agenda, Renee.
Sorry. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Maybe you didn't did she receive an updated copy of the agenda?
Yeah, via email should have been.
Okay.
Yeah, I have it. I was looking at my work session. I'll pull the other one up on my phone.
Okay, great. All right, so any other discussion on the consent agenda as presented? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Motion's approved. Moving on to the regular agenda.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve the minutes of the August 4th and 12th, 2020 City Council meetings.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the motion to approve the minutes of the August 4th and 12th, 2020 City Council meetings. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. All those abstaining say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have one abstention and the motion is approved. For the next item, I will turn over the meeting to the Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Pro Tem, I make a motion directing staff to negotiate a development agreement with Eagle View Partners regarding tax increment financing incentives.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve, to direct the staff to negotiate a development agreement with Eagle View Partners. So we had, I think, an extensive presentation and discussion on this on Tuesday. Is there any need for an updated presentation or comments? Grant?
Yes, thank you. As I went back and looked at that particular council memo, I spent a little bit of time reviewing the financial parameters that are delineated therein. In parallel with that, I noticed that there was an increased interest regarding the public-private structure that is going to be used for this. So I did speak with Nick Glue earlier this afternoon, and I guess, Nick, if you could give a similar update for the record relative to our discussion on the general parameters for the public-private structure that'll be inherent in this project.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm happy to provide that update, and just so everyone's aware, and I think you can probably see Mr. Cottrell's also on the meeting. So if I say the wrong answer, he can tell me I said the wrong answer. But essentially, when we talk about a public-private partnership, and I think as you look through the sources and uses in there, even in that alone, you can see that this is a project that really leverages a variety of tools kind of at all levels. So what we're talking about here today is the public partnership in supporting the project with tax increment financing incentives. If you also look in there, you'll know that we're seeking to leverage a brownfield grant for this project, and also workforce housing tax credits once construction gets underway, which have already been secured for the site. We could then go on to talk about just how carefully we are coordinating this project with different departments of the city when we talk about planning for the adjacent plaza, and how Mr. Cottrell's project will interact with those public investments next to the private investments. And so it really, when we talk about public-private partnership, I think what we're referencing is not just the way that this project is being financed together with Mr. Cottrell's private investment and private equity, but also how we're coordinating both public assets and private investments at the same time. And I guess I would ask Mr. Cottrell, if you have anything else to add to that, feel free, please.
No, it's actually an excellent question, and thank you for asking it. I think Nick has done a nice job of explaining let me call it the financial portion of the partnership, and I think we do use that term for more than just financial, to talk more about financial. The way that we're able to, let me just say, redevelop or bring these new neighborhoods back, these new blocks back, is really one block at a time. And we have found over the last 10 years that you don't just get to jump around and start one here and start one there. I mean, it literally takes, you have to go into a block, you have to work on it. And by that, I mean, not only the private part of it, you know, building the new building and, you know, putting businesses in it and people living in it, but it's also really critical that we get done around the outside of it. If there's the plaza work that we're talking about, the streetscape work that's being done, we even have underground work that's probably 100 years old, would be my guess, underneath of this to work on. So the real key to the word partnership is this coordination that Nick just referred to. We've got to go into this block and in a very intensive and very cooperative way, you know, bring it back to life. And then we will literally go to the next block over and do the same thing, and then the next block over and do the same thing. That's the only way that we're going to be able to turn this entire area around.
That's perfect. I think the fact that you gentlemen have outlined that again in this setting will be very helpful to answer most of the questions that I think are circulating around. One of the concerns I have about things is in the absence of definitive and authoritative information readily available to people, participants in social media have a tendency to fill in the blank with some misinformation that is of concern. So thank you very much for that additional outline.
Glad to help. Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions or comments about this project? I mean, it's obviously a very important project that's going to be hopefully kicked off shortly. Okay. With that, we got the motion to direct staff to negotiate the development agreement with Eagle View Partners. All those in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. The motion is approved with one abstention. I'll move the meeting back to the mayor.
Your Honor, I move to make a motion directing staff to negotiate a development agreement with Eagle. I'm so sorry. I move to approve resolution number 28724, approving legal service agreements with City Attorney Kara L. Bullerman and Assistant City Attorney Ryan P. Tang for the period of July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 28724. approving the legal services agreement with the city attorney Kara L. Bullerman and assistant city attorney Ryan P. Tang for July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. Discussion? Okay, we'll vote. All those in favor of resolution number 28724, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 28725, requesting reimbursement from the Iowa COVID-19 Government Relief Fund.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 28725, requesting reimbursement from the Iowa COVID-19 Government Relief Fund. Discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 28725, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 28726, approving agreement with Knights of Columbus Hall for the Library Technology Center.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 28726, approving the agreement with the Knights of Columbus Hall for the Library Technology Center. Discussion? Yes, go ahead, Will.
Could we get a description of what this is, please?
This was added. Yeah, this is new, that was not on the agenda on Tuesday, so.
Yeah, we didn't have the lease agreement ready, but we've been searching the community for other areas that we could stand up technology centers for the library. We don't anticipate that this is going to be anything permanent, but with the disaster response, we've been running one technology center over at Thomas Park. We're looking for locations around the community to do other ones. We think they'll be a great resource for people to come to and get assistance with filling out paperwork for FEMA, just to be able to access technology that might be challenging to use at home. The Knights of Columbus Hall is out on the east side of town. It also, during the interim, will double for a cooling center for us as we encounter days like today during the recovery period while people are still having repairs done to their homes. So it's a lease that's written month to month. We have the ability to opt out when we see that the activity at the facility would fall back to a level where it's not necessary to have it anymore.
Are the expenses reimbursable?
They should be reimbursable through ICAP, if not through FEMA.
Will.
Are they going to be the 9 to 6 like the other one, Monday through Friday?
They'll be making some announcements, but I think their intent was to really see what demand was and kind of let that drive hours. We won't likely have it staffed out there for a while, but we will have it available, I think, starting tomorrow as a cooling center.
Other discussion? Okay, we'll vote. All those in favor of resolution number 28726, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved.
Your Honor, I make a motion to receive, file, discuss, and refer to TAC a request for a school zone speed limit at 3920 35th Avenue, Linn-Mar School District.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to receive, file, discuss, and refer to Traffic Advisory Committee a request for a school zone speed limit at 3920 35th Avenue. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved. For the next two items, I will turn over the meeting to Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve resolution number 28727, approving concurrence with developer agreement associated with the 2020 Central Corridor Improvement Project Phase 4, 19th Street to 26th Street, for the paving and landscaping in the amount of $2,294,098.80. Genesis Equities.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve resolution number 28727. And this is related to the developer agreement on the 2020 Central Corridor Improvement Project Phase 4 for $2,294,098.80. Okay, so again, we had a presentation on this on Tuesday. It is going into the last phase of that 19th Street to 26th Street, 6th Avenue piece, which will then complete the Central Corridor project as planned a number of years ago. So it's nice to finally be talking about this final phase. So any questions or comments about this? Will?
Real quick. The roundabout is considered 27th Street, correct? So why does this say just to 26th Street? Or am I misinformed?
So the way that the contract is written is it's 19 to 26. The roundabout itself is 27th, but because it's short, this will connect to the roundabout. So it will be from termini to termini.
Okay. I assume so, but.
Good question. Clarifies that.
There will not be a gap.
Okay.
Any other questions about the phase of this project? Okay, if not, all those in favor of approving resolution number 28727, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. The resolution 28727 is approved with one abstention.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 28728, approving the Commons at English Glen 5th Edition Final Plat, a memorandum of agreement for property located north of 29th Ave and west of 44th Street, Robson Homes.
Second.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second to approve resolution number 28728, approving the Commons at English Glen 5th Edition Final Plat and memorandum of agreement for the property located north of 29th Avenue and west of 44th Street, Robson Homes. Any comments or discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving resolution number 28728, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Okay, the resolution 28728 is approved with one abstention. And I'll move the meeting back to the mayor.
Your Honor, I move to approve road ordinance number 20-10, approving rezoning from A1 rural restricted to BL local business for property located south of Tower Terrace Road and west of Winslow Road. This will be the Donna M. Morrissey Revocable Trust. This will be the second consideration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 20-10, approving a rezoning from A1 rural restricted to BL local business for property located south of Tower Terrace Road, west of Winslow Road. This is the second consideration. Discussion? All those in favor of approving ordinance number 20-10, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. Next on our agenda is a storm response update. Will that be city manager?
I will start, and since we have the response staff in here, if there's any specific questions that you want to ask from Parks or Public Service or any of the other ones involved with it, building inspection, by all means, feel free. It's been a heck of a couple of weeks with the city getting caught up with all of this. I'd like to start out saying that in my time at Marion, which in March would be 14 years, I don't think I've ever seen the team pull together as well and in the same direction and put in this amount of effort to help our community recover in that entire time. I can't tell you strongly enough how proud I am of the way that they reacted to this. It was tough because of a lot of the resources that communities in Iowa come to depend on, which is built around mutual aid, meaning you can call other cities when your city is affected. We're also affected this time around, so you didn't have those resources to draw on. Communications were extremely challenging in the early days of the response, and in some areas they're still challenged. But even with that, our staff knew what they needed to do to get the response started, even though They couldn't always talk to each other. They still reported to work and just got started on helping the community move through not only the initial triage, but then into the disaster recovery stage. So at this point, I'm happy to report that all of our roads are now passable to traffic. We have 19 different apprentice loader trucks running around the community. You've likely seen all of those by now that are doing the storm debris removal. They started with all the major routes first, and then once the major routes are clear with the first pass, then they start moving off into neighborhoods. We had some assistance from both the DOT and the National Guard. They were focused really on the areas that still were without power so that they could help Alliant get in and get power restored to the community. Alliant is also reporting that at this point, everybody in the community has power available. That doesn't mean that they have power because there are still some buildings out there that need to repair their own services coming in before they'll be able to be completely restored. But it is available now everywhere in the community. Today, we started to work on aerial trucks to start doing removal of what they call hangers. Those are the broken limbs that are still extending out over the public right-of-way. I wish I could tell you that it went as smoothly as the apprentice loaders did. It didn't. There were some hiccups in that, so we're going to work very diligently tomorrow to get those operating up to Marion standards for how we expect them to operate, and keep an eye on them. We have brought a contractor online to do the monitoring rather than have our own staff do that. They're still going through the hiring process. Again, I don't think that went as smoothly as we would have liked, so we will continue to work through that. But the plan ultimately would be to release our staff at Public Services and Parks back to being able to focus on their own work programs and have the contractor do all the required monitoring and paperwork for FEMA to ensure that we do get reimbursed for everything we can. We have a meeting next week with a FEMA representative that is going to be helping us with all of the required steps that you have to go through to ensure reimbursement. We're asking them to do an early audit of what we've done so far, just to make sure that we've dotted our I's and crossed our T's on all of our procurements and other activities related to that. And then we have a whole list of questions to ask them again, just to make sure that we're doing everything correctly. FEMA is one of those agencies that by the time they get new rules adopted, they already have the next version of rules out for public review and comments. So even though it doesn't seem like it's been that long since Marion experienced a natural disaster and had to deal with them, it's been long enough that some of the rules have changed. So again, we're making sure that we're doing everything to capture every dollar that the community is entitled to and help us down the road to recovery. We've had a lot of support from our partners, not only from groups like Medco and the Chamber of Commerce in Uptown, but also groups like Marion Cares that have been key partners in building bridges for us into places that have been hit particularly hard, like the mobile home parks. We're continuing to liaise with those groups to see what we can do to support their recovery. And again, when FEMA comes in, we're going to make sure that we do everything we can to provide resources to be able to help those communities recover as well. The mayor and I have had the opportunity to attend several meetings with not only the governor, but with national representatives coming out as well and iterate our case for aid. The next piece is that now they are asking for additional federal assistance that would allow for debris removal on private property. That was not included in the original proclamations or the declarations from the president, but that tool is available, so they have filed that request. We'll see if that one comes forward. We've seen an unprecedented outpouring of public support for the Marion Food Pantry. The amount of material and support and food that has gone out through there is nothing short of astounding, and the volunteer effort through there has absolutely been amazing. We are reaching the point now in the disaster recovery that some of those other resources that you would typically fall on for a disaster like this have gotten their feet underneath themselves. So over the next couple of weeks, I would look for us to see some of those efforts really kind of stand down and go back to resuming more of their normal operations. So we're looking at for our command center here in City Hall. We'll be here tomorrow. We'll do an operational plan through the weekend. We'll see how that one goes, and then make the decision Monday morning if we need to continue to have a command center here, or if we're ready to start again transitioning over into more of those long-term recovery efforts. We know there's a lot that still needs to be done in the arenas, not only of housing, but also business recovery and business support. I've been cautioning everybody from the beginning that this is not an effort that's going to be measured in days or weeks. This is one that's going to be measured in months and years. But I strongly believe that Marion will rise to the challenge, and we will come at it like everything else that we do, and put our all into it. And as the mayor is fond of saying, when we come out the other side, we will have reached higher and we will be a stronger community for it. So wanted to see if you had questions for me or if you have questions for the staff.
Any questions for Lon or any of the staff members? Yes.
Lon, I think just one of the questions that I keep hearing is can we just get some clarification as to maybe the percentage as to what we have completed for the first round of the debris removal or pickup? There's still some, obviously some our secondary roads, residential areas, they're starting to just start asking some questions. Could you just give us some clarification on that, please?
Sure. I think Public Services was pretty direct at the beginning that they figured it would take around 3 weeks for us to make the first pass throughout the community. I'll admit, when the loaders got up and got started, I was a little skeptical on whether we were going to be able to make that. But as they've learned more about the community and figured out their through routes, figured out our road network, they have been able to start bringing in more. Where originally when they were running, they were bringing in around 15,000 to 20,000 cubic yards of debris per day. Now they're typically running 30,000 or more. So the Public Services Department was pretty optimistic that the first pass will be able to be completed in the next couple of weeks. I don't know if Ryan has specific percentages or if you were at.
For roadways?
28%.
I'd say about 25 to 30%.
Yeah.
I think the graphic that was on the city's Facebook page today said 28%. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead, Steve.
Just so on the storm response teams that are picking up the storm debris, how many days, I know they're going to be here for a number of weeks, how many days a week are we contracted to do they plan on working?
We're working 7 to 7, 7 days a week. So 12-hour days, but
Wow.
7 days per week.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the important thing to share with people is that, as Ryan has said, that they're focusing on the major arterials and collector streets first, and then they'll move into the smaller streets in the neighborhoods.
And if I'm sure you've all had a chance to travel some of those collector streets. It did not take long after the first passes for people to put the second wave of debris out along
Right.
there. It's not necessarily every property, but you can already see the second wave building up.
So that, again, that's the other thing that we need to make sure people know is that there'll be 3 passes. And so as it's cleared, they have room to put more stuff out. There'll be a second pass and a cleanup pass at the end.
Yeah, and as the aerial crews move around, I mean, they'll be taking down those dangerous limbs and removing some of those. So there'll be some additional debris that'll be associated with that type of work that people will just have to kind of deal with for a little while until we get to all of them.
Will?
Are those aerial crews just taking down the hanging branches, or are they also going to be removing the trees that have been marked for removal?
I think I'll ask Seth to address that one.
Yes. So.
Oh, could you please come to the mic there? Thanks.
Seth Stasham, Interim Director, Parks and Recreation. So for the tree removal services, the aerials are only dealing with the ones that are marked with the pink dots. And so they'll be both doing the hanger removals and also full tree removals.
Could you explain the dots?
Absolutely. I do have some slides on the PowerPoint here. Real quick, for the DOT system, we are doing a preliminary tree assessment. So we do have an existing tree inventory within our GIS system. Over the past week, we've had 8 staff members out evaluating trees, and these are all under the direction of our city arborist. And what they're doing is getting an assessment of trees that should be removed and trees that are hazardous, that have hazardous hangers. If we go to the next slide, all the information they're taking are the GPS location, species, the diameter at breast height, picture, and then also we're categorizing 3 things. If it's salvageable, which means it's in good condition, if there's a hanger limb, or if there's a complete loss. There are some other items that we are identifying, which is pretty much notifying arborists to re-review this tree, or if it's a tree that's been double marked within the inventory. And then we are also marking the trees. So no dots are salvageable trees that are completely in good condition. 1 dot are for hazard hanger removals, and 2 dots are hazard tree that the whole tree is a complete loss. And then we do have some real quick for the hazard trees. To be identified as a hazard tree, it needs to meet some qualifications for FEMA. 1, it needs to be greater than 6 inches in diameter, and it also needs to be a hazard for those that are in the public. So city right of ways, sidewalks, streets, parks, under recreation areas, those all qualify for reimbursement for FEMA. The other criteria it needs to meet is for a damaged tree to be a complete loss, it needs to have 50% of the tree crown canopy is completely gone and destroyed. Or it can have a split trunk or exposed heartwood, which is a lot of the cases we have seen in the city, fallen uprooted within public use areas, or it has a lean of 30 degrees or greater. And then for hanger removals, they just need to be 2 inches or greater diameter at the point of cut. And so from some preliminary numbers, just to give council an idea of what we're looking at, we did complete the city right away, and we're working currently in the parks. This is an example of the dashboard that is now public online. If we go to the next slide to the table, we are looking at around 1,000 trees at a complete loss for the city at 35%. So early estimates was that 50% of the trees were affected through the Cedar Rapids, Marion area, and this information is consistent with that, with the hanging limbs and complete loss adding up to close to 50%. These numbers will be consistent, or should be consistent percentage-wise, to the park trees too.
Go ahead, Colette.
Just a quick question. When you say reimbursable, does that mean that they will fund planting new trees, or reimbursable the removal of just the removal of the trees?
Right now, it's just a recovery phase of just removal. There are some opportunities out there for replanting, and some new ones that came to our attention over the past couple of weeks that people have been emailing us, which we haven't seen before. So there will be some positive notes to this as we move forward. But right now, the next couple of months, we're completely focused on the priority of removal and getting rid of the hazards.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Randy.
Seth, I just wanted to ask a question here because I'm kind of getting these questions here, and I think it's relative, and I know it's a little bit premature, but have we had any discussions or talk about the root balls that we will be facing within the future? I just want to give the council a little bit of perspective. A 70-inch root ball, now the root ball is what comes up out of the earth, and we're seeing that laying up on top of the yards now, but a 70-inch root ball in diameter, 36 inches deep, weighs 4.8 tons. These will not be something that the neighborhood's going to go out there and start hacking away at. A lot of these will require end loaders and cranes of some magnitude. We've got a lot of them in the right of way. We also have a lot of them in the front yards. We have encountered a little bit of damage, or at least I have on my side, where some of these homes that have Orangeburg in the front yards, roots of trees like to grow towards water sources. And so I know some of those have been damaged. I don't know if we had any reported in Marion, but can you just give us a little bit of scope what maybe the future looks like for these? They will not go back into the earth. And once they are removed, I've been telling people we got to be prepared to bring in, a yard or 2 yards of black dirt to fill these holes in. So,
yeah,
can you just talk to that subject real quick? Because I know that's hanging out there for a lot of people.
Yeah, so FEMA does reimburse for contract work for removal of stumps, and then also backfill for materials. Right now, we're in the stages of handling removals for the trees and also the hazard hangers, but we'll be having those conversations very shortly on dealing with those stumps, and we've we've had some early conversations on those, but we have a lot more to follow up on.
But at this point, is that only for the public trees, or, because as Randy mentioned, a lot of those stumps are on private property?
Yes, right now those conversations are really for public right-of-way and green space trees. There are some, we do have online some excellent resources of companies that do have stump grinders and that information. But right now, that's pretty much the focus right now is the public and right-of-way. We still need to have a lot further conversations in the future on how to handle those.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate
We are
that.
continuing to push for that benefit for the
Mhm.
public, for the private owners, for tree removal. So we haven't given up on that. And so, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, two quick questions, Seth. So with the number of trees taken out, when those trees are marked, is a sheet left with the homeowner? So if their tree is marked, that they kind of know what's going on, or if they don't agree with it for some reason, which again, I told you on Tuesday, I had a homeowner who did not agree with the marking on his tree.
Yes.
But one, has a sheet been left at the house with information about it? And then the follow-up question is, on all these right-of-way trees that are being taken out, will we be replanting all those in the future?
The first question, we've done this assessment in a period of a few days.
Okay.
And so it's been a very fast process.
Okay.
We have not left any door hangers or anything like that for
All right.
the public. We did put out the press release that if they do have issues with or have questions or disagreements with what we called out for,
I saw that.
they can contact the Parks Department, and our city arborist is re-reviewing some of those requests coming in. I mean, the reality of the situation is a lot of these hazardous trees are dangerous and are a liability in the city right away. And we would love to be able to touch base and reach out and have a full process for it. But in these emergency situations, we don't have the luxury of time on our hands.
I understand that. It's like doing triage. Yep.
Yeah.
I understand that.
And then the second question, as far as replanting. So again, we're going to be in the phase right now of removal, but we are looking at other opportunities for replanting. We talked to Tree Board and Park Board earlier today, and there's strong support to be able to do some replantings in a lot of the right-of-ways, and we continue to do that, especially when we talk about emerald ash borer and replacing the replanting for those. We'll continue to work towards that with some extra grant opportunities out there. We should be able to secure those and be able to do some replanting efforts. And there's a lot of strong support in the community right now too, that they want to see trees put in. And so we should be able to forge a good support group to be able to provide those items in the future. It might not be something that comes this fall, just with the process, but over the next couple of years, we should be able to have a plan in line to be able to replant our canopy.
I have no anticipation of any planting done in 2020. Okay, so I think I just wanted to know in the future, is that our intent and plan? And you've responded.
That is
the answer is yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Other questions? Lon, would you mind just going over what we've decided in terms of how we're going to make sure the word gets out to the people who really need it in terms of the resources with FEMA and applying for FEMA assistance? I know we had talked about various possibilities of how to get the information out there, because not everyone's on social media, not everyone might check the website.
Yep, we're continuing, excuse me, we are continuing to do press releases out to the conventional media to try to put that information out there. That's one of the things with the technology centers. We want those to be opportunities for people to access those resources, especially for those that, if your primary internet at home is your cell phone, that could be very challenging if you have to go in and fill out particular forms. The state of Iowa has created a specific website now that is a gateway for people to go in and be able to apply for state resources, for FEMA resources. I can't remember the citation right off the top of my head, and I don't want to give the wrong one, so we'll have to push that out under a press release. I'd rather double check it before I would release that information.
So if someone can go into the technology center and have the information available there, forms there, or someone that can talk them through it maybe?
Yeah, we intend to have printed copies available as well. When the state was the only one that was running this before the FEMA disaster declaration was released, you have the opportunity to do a printed form, and then people could actually just take a picture of it and send it to a state link, or send it in if they had the ability to scan it. You could also scan it in and submit it as a PDF. You did not have to fill the form out online.
With the messenger coming out soon, is that a possibility of having an insert maybe in that would just go to every home?
I will certainly ask communications.
Okay.
They're pretty creative on
Maybe just a
figuring out
separate
ways to get
insert
information
that's
to people.
clearly identified.
Yep, and when, again, before the disaster declaration came out, the city was printing and providing forms for the food pantry that could be put into the boxes of food that were being distributed across the community. So we'd have opportunities to continue to do those activities as well.
Other questions for Lon? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, on that idea about the messenger, I did have just a brief interaction with Amber relative to a abbreviated storm edition. Maybe there's something that could go out maybe ahead of the normal schedule. But again, I understand the limitations of print schedules and getting things out and getting things mailed. I understand there's time requirements for that. But if that's at all possible, I think that would be a great idea.
Okay, other questions for Lon?
Anybody want to hear from Ryan?
I think we'd love to hear from Ryan. Hello.
Hi. Any questions? Yeah.
Well, how do you feel it's I mean, what's your, I know it's a daunting task, but how do you feel about it?
Get myself composed. So this is what the feedback I've gotten so far. We've met on the site. We've had Army Corps people come in. We've had FEMA reps come in already just to inspect the site. We're working with a variety of contractors from around the country. And all I've heard up to this point is like they are impressed with how organized things are, the way they're going. Army Corps came into the site and said, we're not going to be back. This looks great. Talking to the contractors, they're very impressed about how things are organized, how fast we're moving, things like that. I have heard good feedback on the residential drop-off site. As Lon alluded to, we're kind of learning things out, both with the contractors and ourselves, on how this is going to work. Now that we understand each other, we're moving really fast. And so our collections have probably doubled. I wouldn't be surprised if they will triple, just because we're getting in sync with everything. And so we're getting through the main routes. We've already knocked out a couple residential areas already on that map. Once those areas get knocked out, we're going to get in there and start picking up steam maybe even more. The food waste disposal site, that went over great. I think we disposed of just over 100 tons of food waste. Grossest thing you could be around. All right, that's bad.
It is bad.
It was bad. So a couple of the volunteers didn't keep it in, but we got through it. All I can say is the people that helped out, we had volunteers from the library directing traffic, and so that's how hard everybody dug in here. And so I know everybody's staff is digging in hard. Our guys won't go until we're comfortable about how, where things are at. And I think we understand each other. We're just going to stick here until it gets done the way we want it done. Lon indicated that we ran into a hiccup today. We did release the aerials. We're going to address that. So they're going to have some company tomorrow, and we're going to make sure they do things right. And they will. I'm not too worried about it. They're very skilled people, but they're not used to working around our expectations, I guess. And so you got to remember, we're dealing with people from different regions and different expectations. And so people aren't used to these expectations. And so what I'm saying is here that our level of work that we do here, the expectations that we put on people it's a compliment to the residents here. Probably the biggest compliment I heard from the FEMA reps, Army Corps, and even the contractors, they couldn't believe how hard residents around here work. They just were astonished that people are actually cleaning out their backyards. They're taking stuff to the debris site themselves. They couldn't believe how big that pile was. And that was the most astonishing thing that they've seen. So, and that's probably that Iowa thing, but yeah, that was probably the most impressive thing they saw was just the residents. And they've never been treated this nice. So they're used to going down to some bad areas, but that's one thing that they still talk about. So I'm hoping in 3 weeks or 2 weeks it'll look a lot better. So
Thank you for all your hard work, you and your crew and everyone.
Yep.
Okay,
Good.
thanks, Ryan. Any more questions for Lon or anything on the COVID? I'm sorry, on the storm response. We're dealing with several crises at the same time. So, okay. At this time, we have a public forum. That's a time set aside for comments from the public on any item that was not on the agenda. Do we have any comments from the public?
I have not received anything.
None? We might wait just a second and see if anyone sends a message. None? Okay, if any come in during council comments, just stop us. We'll go ahead with council comments. Renee, do you have anything?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, I think she said no. Go ahead, Grant.
Yes, thank you. I have two categories of things I just want to comment on very briefly. The first category is things that have amazed me over the last 2.5 weeks or whatever it's been. Citizen response, Ryan just mentioned that. Neighbors helping neighbors has been astounding. The volunteer response, volunteers of all types that have taken the field and really helped the overall situation. City crews, staff members, amazing. The contractor crews, now I know you're in startup with the aerial outfits, and so they will get calibrated with our expectations. But by and large, the contractor crews, the guys running the big rigs, I just found them to be exceptionally congenial and respectful and doing a magnificent job of getting stuff off of the sides of the streets. And also, with small acknowledgement of one of my prior employers, I think Alliant has done a very good job to get things back into order. Certainly they had challenges in some areas where a lot of rebuild had to be happening, but they got right after it as quickly as possible. And I want to echo that phrase that Ryan just used. I think we are chock full of that Iowa thing, and it's just very happy. The second category is fire safety. Will and I were making our beverage cart rounds the other day, and we noticed there was some open burning in a backyard. We did call that in. I don't know if that ever was anything to worry about, but it was very disturbing. Fireworks complaint came in to me. I must be the fireworks guy. And with the dry materials on the sides of the streets, we could have a disaster on our hands if any of that stuff went up. So fireworks needs to be contended with. Those are the things that concern me, and fortunately, that's a minor list. So thank you.
Thank you. Well,
I just want to give a thank you to all the city employees in this room and out there on the streets and in the woods and all that they're doing. And also not just to the city employees, but to the families of the city employees too, that are, at home dealing with kids or whatnot, when these guys and gals are out there working long hours every day. So just a thank you to everyone.
I think it's going to be a theme. I'm right there with you. And I've heard it from many of our residents, just how proud they are to continue to be part of a community where all hands on deck. So really, really, really appreciate each and every one of you and the hard work that you're putting in. Thank you.
Randy.
Sounding like a broken record, but once again, thank you to our entire city of employees, their families. I always like to make sure that we include those because as a witnessing to all of the people that were out immediately after the storm, their own properties and homes and families were going through the same destruction, and yet they were committed to staying in their trucks and staying on the clock with the city to do what they needed to do. And that is the ultimate commitment in my book. And we appreciate that. I happen to be out at public services and was able to witness, these things where this mentality of Iowa being the flyover state is kind of difficult to take, especially when we watch the disasters now down in Louisiana today. And when they've had 48 to 72 hours of pre-advance notice on that and all the publicity that they're getting with it and all the media coverage on that, it's very humbling to think of what we've come through with very little of that, but that's what we're used to. That's what Iowa is used to. And to witness, we got these big black trucks rolling down to the debris removal, and then right behind it is a little old man in his old 1983 S10 pickup truck. He's got his load right there with him. It's that mentality. They all know these trucks are coming, but yet they roll up their sleeves, they do what they can, and we participate. Everybody plays ball, and that's very, very exciting. I have the opportunity to work with people that have been coming in from across the country to assist in claims for insurance companies. I've worked with people this week from Kentucky, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Georgia, forgive me, I think I said Texas already, Kansas, Nebraska, Oregon, Washington, North Dakota, South Dakota. And when these folks come in, they do their business, and before they leave, they shake hands, and they're just astonished at the mentality. I kind of chuckle and say the first thing that we do is we've got a disaster and mom's gonna go bake a casserole because that's what we do. We get the tables loaded up with food, and we do everything. Everybody participates in this. And so when these adjusters started to have to leave to head to the shores of Louisiana and Georgia and Texas, they're just shocked. They're just in awe, and they would have all loved to have stayed in our community, but their contracts forced them to continue to move on. So compliments to our state again. It just resonates over and over and over and over again. So I'm very proud of our community and very proud of calling Marion home for us. So we've got a lot to be proud of. Thank you.
I think the other thing we've seen is a lot of the people from outside of this town step up and come in and support us. Again, there was an article in the Marion Times today. A young man with the last name of Bonebreak is a police officer in Georgia, and he has family ties here. In fact, I knew his dad when he was growing up here, and he was a police officer for the city as well. So, not only are the people from Marion exemplary in how they've come through this storm, but also the people that used to live here that are still out there helping and supporting. And I think that has been a tremendous help to this city as well.
Well, for my part, I've lived in this community for 45 years, and I've never experienced anything like this. And it was devastating, you know, for everyone had damage, everyone was impacted. So many great things were revealed in it, you know. To see everyone put aside all the differences and all the bickering over politics and whatever arguments we've been having for months, and masks, no masks, and all of this stuff, and everyone just put it aside and just shared in humanity and got together and helped each other out. And it was so, it was heartbreaking to see our city in the shape that it was in. It was comforting to see everyone coming together, and it was exhilarating all at the same time, and just made you just want to work harder and harder. I finally got back to my office yesterday for a half a day and a little bit longer today, but I don't regret it whatsoever. Every minute that we all have spent working for our community is well spent, and to be there right alongside everyone else who loves the community and was just answering the call, you know, from council members who put together teams of people to go through neighborhoods, or went and handed out snacks to the workers to keep them going, or helped with chainsaws, helped you know, people in the community, or whatever they did. And then the city staff who has pulled together, as Lon said, like we never have before. And it's been really an honor to be part of it and to see everyone go in the same direction, all hands on deck, everyone doing whatever it takes. And the volunteers have been amazing. The food center, the distribution center, the owner of the space, who without question just said, here's the key. On the first day, as we were starting to get phone calls from people saying, we want to donate food. We're in Georgia, or we're in Wisconsin, and we're going to bring down a truck. Well, we had to find a space, and they just handed us the key and said, go ahead. And we took over more and more of that space. To all the Hy-Vee who I called and said, we need water in this distribution center. Well, we have 30 pallets. How many do you want? You know, it was just that kind of an attitude of, what is it that you want? We'll bring it over. And it's kind of miraculous how donations came in and flew out the same day, and then would be empty over there, and then all of a sudden the next day it filled up again. It was just, and so much compassion was shared through that space that I'll never forget. I'll never forget that. Really appreciate everyone pulling together, everyone seeing the need to help our community through it. We will come out a stronger community. We really are putting the unity in community. We're showing everyone how it's done. I'm lucky that I get a lot of the comments in the community, but I, you know, recognize that it's not, that it's all of us doing it together. And our community and people outside the community are commenting about how Marion is showing everyone how it should be done. So I've never been more proud. I'm already, you know, everyone knows I'm a big Marion cheerleader, but if it's possible to be even more proud, I am today. I know we're not out of the woods yet. We have a lot still to do, a long ways to go, and a lot of people to help. And we're going to experience some setbacks, and we're going to have some challenges. But as long as we continue with the same attitude and pulling together, we'll be just fine. So thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend, and keep going. Meeting's adjourned.